We are back. We're back. Elsa, stop telling me information in the background. Not important right now. Not important. We have very important things to be getting towards. Maybe even turning on my damn camera right there. Anyways, all good, man. All good. Plenty to speak about today. Well, I guess maybe not necessarily before today's event, but certainly after today's event, which won't be coming in for another few hours anyways. I think we're about 5 hours away from the big main event that everyone is waiting for, the FOMC coming out. Potentially, the Lizard Council may decide to even reduce the rates yet again. It seems like that is what they are indeed posturing for based off of the Jackson Hole talk, you know, as of recent. And of course, you know, the Fed, the FOMC, the Fed has to, especially Jerome Powell, has to be able to, you know, ease the market into any sort of change that they might be doing. Why? Because you have to as the Fed. You need to give everyone an extremely consistent long-term look. So that's why these things do take a long time. But if anything, based off of his last talk, I actually listened to it. It does sound like there is a very high probability of a big, well, maybe not a big rate coming today, but some sort of a rate cut coming today, whether it be a 0.25%, whether it be 0.5%, whether some people who are in the chats right now who are wanting 1%, hey man, it's free to ask for, I guess. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get it, but all good, man. We got hatred coming in from all areas of this beautiful world. We got hate coming in from the UK, from Pete J. We got hate coming in from Germany. The Germans love to hate, indeed. Pain and boredom from Australia. Indeed, my man, indeed. It is terrible. What's up, CryptKeeper369? How you doing, man? It's been a long time. It's been a long time since catching a live. Yes, indeed, sir. Yes, indeed, we are live right now. This is our usual live time. Like I said, though, I might move it back another couple hours in the future here, but for right now, I'm quite enjoying this time. What's up, Mr. Quads? Good to see you, man. Always enjoy our conversations in the Discord. Really enjoyed your take yesterday, by the way, as well. That was very deeply thought out. Also, very highly AI optimized as well, but all good, man. I use it as well, and it's extremely helpful to kind of, you know, clarify thoughts and really make them into a really straight line, which is super helpful. Hate from New Jersey. Everyone fucking hates each other in New Jersey, so nothing new there, Mr. Charles. All good, man. No cut Jerome tonight, says AD. Perhaps yes, perhaps no, but I would be very surprised if they didn't cut at least a little bit, at least a 0.25%. It would be extremely surprising to me if they did not. Like I said, you know, the Fed, Jerome Powell, you know, whoever's in charge of the Fed has to really forecast in slow motion what they're going to do far in advance. And it did really seem to me that the last talk in August, in August at Jackson's Hole, you know, that to me, that's certainly what it seems like. I don't really understand. I know that some people would disagree with that. I honestly do not understand what the hell they heard. But then again, man, it's always a game of fucking telephone, right? I mean, this is the big issue in the world, is that we can all see the same event. We can all see the same thing, hear the same thing, and have wildly different conclusions. I mean, for fuck's sake, the last couple weeks is a great indication of that, man. Holy shit. I feel like I get just radicalized every day a little bit more, just a little bit more anytime I read the news, anytime I read especially the mainstream news, but also, you know, the bullshit news on Twitter as well, man. It is absolutely insane what gets said on these places, despite overwhelming evidence in the opposite direction. It really is 1984, where you are told first and foremost not to trust your own fucking eyes. It is actually insane, but it works. Well, okay, I don't know if it actually works. I think it works on a very small subset of people nowadays. There's about 10 to 15% on both sides of the political spectrum that are just so radicalized that they're actually lobotomized at that point. They actually have a self-lobotomy by the mainstream news, and you know, and the, you know, and the critical news, or the crazy news as well, or the Twitter news, I guess. But you know, as usual, most people are in the middle. Most people are relatively reasonable, and most people, you know, will trust their own eyes. But goddamn it, it really doesn't take too many people. It really doesn't take too many people to fuck it up for everyone else, man. It's said, it's speculated, I believe, by Nassim Taleb that only 3% of the population needs to be radicalized in order for serious change to occur, because those extremes do pull in the rest of everyone else, or more, or maybe more accurately said, they pull everyone else fucking down. I hate both fucking sides of the extremes. I really do. I really fucking hate both sides of the extreme. But goddamn, man, one side is just even a little bit more irritating than the other side, at least as of right now. Anyways, we got some hate from Netherlands. Fuck yeah, man. We love some hate from the Netherlands, from Ron Sano. Good morning to you, man. Good morning, Mr. Coin Rider, as well. We're all riding the coins right now, aren't we? Stop talking about Jackson's Hole. It's his hole, and he has his rights. That's right. He does have his rights, and we have our rights to stick our fists nice and deep inside of that, just like Ben's chair, because I know that he's a nurse, And that's what nurses do. They get their hands dirty. They get their hands wet, and that's what we love, man. We love people who are doing the fucking work, who are doing the work, man, who are doing the work. Speaking of, much hate from Thailand. There's no one hates anyone in Thailand. What is going on here? No, I'm kidding, man. Speaking of, though, man, I feel like I need to have a PSA before every, here's my real radicalization. I feel like I need to have a PSA before every fucking video that I ever do ever, saying, hey, here's your reminder for the day. Go buy fucking assets right now. You're getting poorer every second that you do not own assets. Yes, they can turn down. Yes, they can have drawdowns. Absolutely. You don't fucking put money that you can't afford to lose in them. But goddamn, man, you are getting behind every fucking passing second by not owning assets. Why? Because the system is designed to inflate the fiat currencies. And I actually don't think that that's a bad thing. I know that that's a very unpopular view in this community, where, hopefully we can disagree on that. I don't think that this community is the type of community that typically shoots dissenters, but hey, fair enough. Maybe it does happen. My point is that is that if you read the system, if you understand the system, especially through the tax lens for the United States, you will get a deep understanding of how things are designed. And it actually makes a lot of sense, and it actually does work quite well, but you actually have to play the system. And the problem is that no one fucking teaches you in, especially in school, like shit that you actually have to do. You only learn it later on in life typically by necessity. I didn't even learn it. I am in the financial space, but I was in the financial space in a professional way. I went to college. I took economics. I took even tax law courses as well, and business as well. No one told me about this sort of shit. So you know what I'm doing on this next weekend, or very likely this next weekend. I haven't done the exact video just yet, but I'm doing a full fucking expose on how to play that in the exact way that you're supposed to play it by fucking law, which will essentially, hopefully, if it's like anything for me, it will save you a shit ton of money, help you even, get ahead, because it actually does work quite well. You just have to fucking play in the way that it was actually designed. But yeah, man, I understand that might be an incendiary statement for a lot of people, but I would implore you that until you actually watch this video, or at least until you do a little bit of your own research, not just fucking reading headlines and being radicalized by these pieces of shit, to be honest, as well, but until you actually deeply understand the system, I can assure you there is actually a lot of things that you can do. And what I'll be going over on this, on this next video is all of the legal ways. Again, it's not even like tax loopholes. They literally want you to do this. The government wants you to do this to effectively eliminate all of your taxes, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you have your own business, or even if you are a W-2 wage employee, you can reduce them to the point where you probably will owe such little, or maybe even not at all. It pretty much works for all instances. At least you have like some real income. Obviously, if you're like super low on the income ladder, then I think you might actually be fucked. But I mean, I guess there's always hope, because you can always learn a skill and do that. But then again, some people literally cannot learn skills. One of the most radicalizing things that I ever learned in my life was on IQ. Again, I know that there's some people who would dissent on that, but yeah, it is fucked. Like, some of the population quite literally is fucked. Like, I don't know what to do in that situation. I really don't know. That's something that I don't think any system really has an answer for. But yeah, anyways. They said investment courses is not for all plebs, sir, because they still need someone to work on the rat race. They don't need anyone to work on the rat race anymore. Why? Because they got AI and robotics, sir. Pay attention to the fucking news. Sorry, but if you're doing any sort of manual labor at this point, you are on the way out very soon. Even knowledge labor. I mean, shit, man. Lawyers are more or less going to be irrelevant, if not already irrelevant, especially at the lower level already. But goddamn, man, in the next few years, I mean, like, why pay a lawyer, hundreds of dollars per hour, $500 per hour for a good one, when you could just ask ChatGPT for $20 a month? Crazy, and get help with everything else. UBI on the way. Maybe it is. Probably it is. Some sort of that, I would imagine. But I do think that there was a really interesting idea postured by, I think it was the Trump administration recently, or maybe it was Scott Bessent, that all Americans, all American citizens, as soon as they're born, would get like $1,000 in an investment account. that would be a beautiful way to hopefully spur this on. But goddamn, man, just fucking teach the shit in schools. Like that would really help. I mean, then again, I didn't really pay too much attention to school, and I imagine most other people didn't as well, to be honest. But that would actually be useful. That would actually be useful. Anyways. I'd love to see chat got remodel your basement. What the hell? What are you talking about, Stone Crypto Carp? It's living up to the name for sure. Love from Lithuania. Fuck yeah, we love Lithuania. Professionals will still have to sign off legal stuff at the end, but the lower staff are fucked. Yeah, at the beginning for sure. At the beginning for sure, and we're kind of already there. I do think. Yeah, it's not going to be overnight, but it will be rather fast, and at the mid and lower level, I think already it's very difficult to not use AI for those tasks already. It's very, very good. Like if you have not played around with ChatGPT or Grok or really any of these AIs, I really would implore you to, because not only can it help you a shit ton with your own life, but you'll start to really understand where this world is heading when you see the capabilities of these things already. And again, it's only been like what, 3 years since we really started to have these? It's been about 3 years since 2023. And it's gotten infinitely better in that amount of time. Anyways, because today is FOMC day, we will get into price stats and everything, and in price action analysis. But I do want to present some things that I actually made a Twitter post about earlier. I think that is rather interesting. Just kind of look at the the FOMC rate cut data, and so I've done a lot of studies here, and I realized that I've actually said some things in the past that were not true. They were false, and so I want to correct that, because before I was saying that anytime that the anytime the Fed has cut interest rates after basically a hiking cycle, that 1 year out, it's always been positive. That has actually not been true if we go all the way back to about 1980. So this would be about 55 years of history. That is actually not always true. There are a few major instances where this is certainly not true. That would be the 2001 rate cut over there. That one, if we fast forwarded a year out, was still down, actually 26.5%. And then 2007, same thing, down about 21%, fast forward a year out. Now, everything else was up, to be fair, but those two instances were down if we fast forward a year out. Fucking big time down. So do be aware of that. It's certainly not a given, but it is, I would say, rather high probability. Again, looking at all of the rest of them, they are generally up pretty fucking big. We're talking double digits or more, or well, not more, but like, anywhere between like 10 to 20%, which for traditional markets, especially looking at SPX is what I'm studying right here, that is big. That is fucking big. So yeah, and of course the most recent one was 2024. So realistically, this is not a new cycle or anything like that. It's just a continuation of the cutting cycle from before, and that from that first rate cut, which we saw September last year. So basically 1 year ago, SPX SPY is up about 15.5% from that time, basically at all-time highs, or more or less new all-time highs as it stands right now. So yeah. Anyways. Pete J says, I refuse to entrust my future wealth to a piece of software that hallucinates more than a hippie on shrooms. Good luck with that, ma'am. All right. Just I guess put yourself at a massive disadvantage. But yeah. Does it hallucinate more than a hippie on shrooms? It does do that sometimes, yes. Does it do it more than a hippie on shrooms? Nah, I think that might be an exaggeration, my man. I think it might be an exaggeration. But hey, like I said, man, it's one of those things. I mean, I refuse to use the automobile. The horse is great. Those automobiles, they require gas. My horse runs no matter what. A terrible analogy, but yeah. Anyways. AI looks like a normal boom-bust tech cycle, to be honest. That's what happens with all new technologies. Same thing with the .com, same thing with crypto, same thing with, again, all new technologies. So absolutely, that is guaranteed. I'm not saying to go ahead and invest in AI stocks or anything like this. I'm saying use the fucking tools, because they're extremely useful in many regards, to be honest. I mean, shit, man. Elsa uses ChatGPT to take pictures of her food, and then it analyzes her food and tells her the macro breakdown, like, hey, you have this much calories, these many proteins, these many carbs, these many fats. Super useful, actually. Anyways, yeah, there's the data for these, but of course we could actually make that even a little bit more robust, in the sense that we could split this between basically recession cases and non-recession cases. And when the Fed is cutting during a recession, then it is generally bad. That's kind of the gist of it. When when it is not a recession, which it is not right now, then it is generally good, actually. So I thought that was rather interesting as well. Again, here's non-recession cases. Here are recession cases over here. Fast forwarding a year out, down about 6.66% on average, or sorry, not on average, but the median, and then the average would actually be a little bit below there, just under 5%. When we have a non-recession case, however, we're talking like pretty big fucking numbers across the board, pretty much positive right at the get-go. 5 days up almost 1%, 10 days up about 2%, 30 days 3.5% on average, 60 days 5% on average, 90 days 7.5% on average almost, and 1 year out almost 14.5% on average. So I like those stats, and this to be fair would be the current sort of situation. And again, that does kind of play hand in hand with the data that we went over yesterday regarding statistics for Bitcoin from the 15th of September to the end of September, which is generally a positive time for Bitcoin, at least 80% of the time in Bitcoin's history. And seeing as we've already, had a generally positive beginning to this month of September, I mean, that would imply that the month is going to close positive. And anytime that we've seen September close green, Q4 has been, generally very, very green. It's been green every time for Q4. That doesn't mean that every fucking month is going to be green. And again, it doesn't mean that there might not be a correction in between. I certainly do think that there will be a correction in between, but ultimately that would be an opportunity. Just to be super, 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 super clear and simple, although I know that even that statement can be misheard by about 2% of the population, which is naturally retarded. But that's okay. We're speaking to the 98% right now. We're speaking to the 98% right now that is beautiful, that understands these things, that can understand a bit of nuance. That's who we love. Everyone else, I pray for you. I hope the best for you, but I cannot help you because, well, I don't know. You need something else, man. You need something else. He's copying Luke Davis. Who the fuck is Luke Davis? Jesus Christ, man. Are you talking about David Lucas? I know David Lucas, but he's a comedian. Are those numbers for when it's actually a recession or a declared recession? Actually, it's not based off of either of those things. It's based off of the labor market. It's based off of the labor market is how I told chat to calculate those. So yeah. Anyways, you should ask for sources when using AI. Yes, of course, you can always do that. They are there. Relax, relax, relax. Yeah, fair enough. King Cosmic mad because bad analogy. Yes, okay, I get it. But the point stands. You know what the fuck I mean. Jesus Christ, man. No one wants to be that fucking actually okay, this and it's like Jesus, like, oh, stop it. Like, those people need to be stopped immediately. I don't care what side of the political spectrum they're on. They need to be stopped. They need to be thrown on an island far, far away and go fuck up their own lives together. That's what they need to be doing. That's my solution for the issues of the world. Throw them all on an island. Let them fucking kill each other. I don't give a fuck. Kidding, okay? It's a joke. I'm on the internet. It's called a joke. Relax. Relax. Yeah, honestly, don't care. But yeah, looking at some daily price statistics here, I don't know how much this is going to actually matter for a day like today, when it is going to be event-driven, admittedly. But to be fair, I mean, these ranges actually do align with some areas of interest, to be fair. So, looking at daily statistics, Wednesday actually is the day with the highest positive returns out of any weekday. As far as the negative returns go, it's kind of right there in the middle. But for those positive gaining Wednesdays, Bitcoin has gained an average of just over 2.5%, which is pretty fucking big. To put that in perspective, if Bitcoin were to do one of those moves today, that would be more or less just under 120,000 US dollars. And also kind of the start of the breakdown that we saw from a few weeks ago, or actually about a month ago in August now. It feels like it was just yesterday, but no, it wasn't. So that would be an area of interest to Bitcoin were to get there. Very likely a pullback on that first pass and to the downside, more or less just yesterday's low. I do think that yesterday's low and Monday/Tuesday's low is more, or this week's low, I guess, is more or less a nice pivot for the bear side as well. As long as Bitcoin's above there, Hopium remains for some short-term upside. If Bitcoin comes back down below, especially Monday's low, especially a daily closure below there, then I do think that we're going to get that pullback and correction sooner rather than later. Obviously, if Bitcoin chooses the upside angle of this, then pullback probably later, maybe in October. I do still think that regardless of my thoughts that Bitcoin is probably not, very unlikely has been topped, very likely will be higher, within 3 months, especially. That doesn't mean that we might not see a decent pullback in between there, and I do think that still would be rather healthy. So all of this kind of depends upon, well, a lot of it's going to depend upon what actually does happen today. To be fair, that will be the catalyst very likely, and the excuse for any sort of movements that we do see. But yeah, if we can trust in some indicators, we can look at some momentum oscillators here and just see what the hell they're doing. Daily time frame continues to the upside here. Again, getting into some pretty critical territory. So I do want to highlight that because that is, it has been not the best signal as of recent. Will turn down if today were to close below 113.350. I don't think that we're going to see that today, to be fair. I think worst that we'd see today, if it even does go to the downside, is going to be about Monday's low. The 2-day time frame is actually completely fucking vertical and erect right now, as long as Bitcoin's above 111,400. 3-day time frame, which actually just finished last night, has updated to 113,700. 5-day time frame is going to flip back up to the upside if Bitcoin does close above 120. So that pivot is important. If Bitcoin is going to just, I guess, do the fucking bulldoze green dildo to the heavens and beyond, 120 is kind of the closure that you're looking for over these next few days, basically between now and the end of this week on Friday. 8-day time frame just closed last night as well, so this one's a fresh one, I do believe, and that one is now pivoted at 121. Again, all of the higher term timeframes, though, are coming in from these upwards angles, so that is why I do continue to be generally biased towards an overall correction here, but still long-term continuation to the upside, just as these things play out, work off of their extreme conditions, and then, continue up, much more long-term view of this market, I suppose, which is very offensive to many people, but hey, it is what it is, man. Anyways, with that in mind, I do want to go over here and check out some HPDR ranges, see what it is for the daily. We've obviously already gone over the weekly in yesterday's video and the day prior. 116.5 is a major balancing point for CME. Bitcoin's basically around, is more or less exactly at that number right now for CME. In fact, on CME, now that I recognize it, Bitcoin is brushing up against the top side of the 38.2 level on the daily as well. And we are seeing the HPDR kind of turn down a little bit right here. Let's see what BBWP looks like. Oh, shit. Okay, I didn't actually realize this before, but BBWP is contracting yet again, and Bitcoin is more or less away from that median. So this is honestly one of my most favorite signals, to be fair. But anytime that we see BBWP contract, you're almost guaranteed to get a reconnect with that median without any sort of like major price appreciations or depreciations within that time. So, do I think that it's more likely that Bitcoin will retest? I guess in this case, that's 113. That should rise up over the next few days, to be fair. So maybe it does rise up all the way to 114, 115. But hey, yeah, that is, I have to say that is something that I'd generally be looking for to happen. Let's see what spot looks like. Do we have the same thing here? No, we don't have the same thing on spot. So I guess that's a little bit of a consolation prize. Yeah, a little bit of a consolation prize right there, although spot is a little bit less well tested for that regard. In fact, as of recent, they haven't really been having a great relationship with that, to be fair. Maybe a higher term time frame would have it, but actually in this, no, we have not seen expansion here, so that's not really going to help on this one. Yeah, so the 5 days still kind of boring, I suppose, not really giving us much that we already haven't seen. So fair enough. I suppose for me that means that really, the big focus is on today's event. Honestly, now that I go back to it, the ranges for the price statistics actually, funnily enough, actually is probably a really good indication of direction today, meaning that if you do see above about 120, that is going to be conclusive for Bitcoin putting in new all-time highs sooner rather than later. But as long as you're below there, I still kind of lean towards a general sideways and down correction, just eating up some time, but still long-term bullish. And Bitcoin below more or less this week's lows or Monday's lows, especially on a daily closure. Yeah, at that point, I think that correction gets confirmed, and you're going to see back down somewhere around these lows, maybe 105, 106, 107. I do think that Bitcoin could indeed bottom there, but I'd want to take things one step at a time as usual, and see what happens. So yeah, a a big waiting day, and we still got another what 4.5 hours, so it's gonna take some time, man. What's up, Matthew Speed? Fucking producer taking his time. Who's a producer, sir? S&P not looking good so far. Let's see. I actually haven't even looked at traditional markets just yet. I was in a little bit of a rush myself this morning. I don't know. They're at new all-time highs. I don't know if I'd say that looks bad. If I'm looking at the higher term time frames, no, that looks very good to me. You know, could it have a reconnect with 66.29 or so and then continue up? Yeah. I mean, maybe we've even already seen the low on this one, to be honest. But I wouldn't mind a little bit of a stab lower. But ultimately, in my I do have to ask, what is bearish about a chart making new all-time highs? There's nothing bearish about that. Like, this is what, I don't know, maybe I just don't come from your same school of philosophy, but I don't see anything fucking bearish about this chart, man, in any way, shape, or form. Could it have a pullback here? Yeah, absolutely. You know, 66.25 is completely fine if it wants to. But I'm not worried about this chart at all, as long as you're above this last price action pivot low as far as the general trend goes, and that's all the way down at 63.71, so quite far away from where we're at right now. It's kind of similar to Bitcoin. It's like you can get a correction here, and that's fine. This one doesn't even really look like it wants to correct here, to be honest with you, man. And again, as always, when it comes to traditional markets, it's just so much easier to go to the higher term time frames. Look at the quarterly. Like, this is not a fucking bearish chart, for fuck's sake. Holy shit. You just had a bearish engulfing massive green dildo to close out the prior quarter. We're about to close out this current quarter on very likely continuation of new all-time highs. That to me says new all-time highs coming into the end of this year as well, with Bitcoin coming back down below 116. Now, naturally, these things should generally play with each other, but yeah, Bitcoin not as strong in the short term, I suppose. Anyways, get with the hype says Fed is throwing gas on a dumpster fire, buy assets. Yeah, I really do feel like I need to start to open all of my videos with buy fucking assets. Like, if you don't own assets right now, you need to buy. You don't need to do anything, but I would strongly suggest to at least research reasons why you might want to buy some assets. Why might you want to buy some assets? Because the value of the US dollar is going down with each and every passing second. Inflation, the rate of inflation has been going down, yes, but that does not mean that inflation is reversing to deflation. No, inflation is always happening. The rate of inflation just goes lower. It just means that the value of your dollar is losing its value a little bit slower than it was a couple years ago, when it was, speculated to be like 8 or 9%, from the CPI readings, which aren't even super accurate to begin with, because they don't include, a whole lot of things. It's speculated that true inflation is probably a lot closer to the real inflation rate, and that was significantly higher during that time. I think it was like double what whatever the CPI was. So when something like that is happening, man, if the past 5 years have not been glaringly obvious what has happened, it means that the price of your shit is going up. It means that the price of the shit that you want to buy on a day-to-day basis is going up. You are probably making about the same money if you do have, a similar job, or, as you did before as well. Like, that's just a thing. And so how can you protect the value of your cash? How can you protect your purchasing power? You buy assets, because assets are generally keeping up with inflation. Maybe not all assets. They have to be generally good assets. The tech sector has been the biggest winner during this time. So if you're going to get into any one of these things, I think tech is kind of a no-brainer, just as as an overall umbrella. I like to invest in triple Qs for that purpose, and it actually does beat inflation. Which is nice. It's one of the few things that actually does beat inflation. Real estate, I definitely do not like, because it's highly illiquid, but some people make it work for sure. It's definitely not for me though, but hey, more power to you if you like real estate. But that one does generally keep pace with inflation. Just when you actually need to sell it, then you need to find a fucking buyer, which is very difficult. And fair enough, man. I'll give you my own experience, because I bought I was bidding a house recently, and it's a fucking buyer's market. I'll tell you that, man. You can ask for just about anything that you want, and sellers will be very happy to give it to you. I'll put it that way, man. Anyways, yeah, Boromir is greater than Frodo. Actually, I mean, honestly, Boromir is one of my favorite characters, and he's also very much misunderstood. He's probably one of the most human characters in all of Lord of the Rings. He's amazing, man. He's amazing. You can totally understand if you read the books, you can understand, you know, what this guy was thinking and going through. It's amazing, man. Anyways. What prices would you long out? Oh, great. Yeah, one of these questions, like, what time frame are you trading? Are you a swing trader? Are you a scalping trader? Are you trying to hold for the long term? Are you trying to hold for the short term? What asset are you even fucking talking about? It's like, you know, I joke about this all the time, but I really have to highlight these comments because, look, man, I can give you an answer, but I only know what's right for myself. I don't know what's right for you, and I can give you my answer. And that's fine. Well, what price would I long at? I'm not going to fucking trade Bitcoin on leverage here. I'll put it that way. I'd be happy to buy some Bitcoin for long-term holding if it comes down below about 110. That's fine. If I'm going to hold it for the next 5 to 6 years, yeah, that's fine for me. Is that fine for you? It sounds like you want to, I don't know, maybe you want to have a quick trade. I don't fucking know. But here's the thing, man. You will go ahead and ask that to anyone who will who has a pulse. Or anyone on the internet, and you will trust them more than your own than your own decisions, which is a real problem, man, because they don't fucking know what's right for you, man, and they will likely give you, or at least some of these people will give you an answer. They'll be like, I'm longing right here. I'm longing at 115, 130, 3x. Like, first off, do they even know what the fuck they're talking about for themselves? That's a big question mark. Second off, do they know what they're talking about for you? Extremely unlikely. In fact, nearly impossible because they can't know your situation. But three, you'll for some reason trust them over your own, you know, decisions. So I don't know, man. I can never understand that. Like, how could you possibly expect someone to know better than yourself? Like, I don't know your fucking financial situation. I have no idea. I have no idea. I can tell you this. If I am in the market to hold Bitcoin for, you know, 5 years or more, and this is all excess liquidity, meaning it is not needed for day-to-day life expenses and shit like this, and all of that's taken care of for the next, you know, few years, whatever it ends up being, at least in my case, then yes, I will put extra money to work in stuff like Bitcoin, in stuff like real estate, or sorry, not real estate, but, you know, traditional market, you know, major indices and whatnot. You know, I'll put that stuff to work. Not right now. Do I expect Bitcoin to drop a little bit? Yeah, you know, I'd want it to drop, you know, somewhere down below about 110. Then I'll put some to work, perhaps, you know, for the long term. Again, with that perspective, would I just blindly long there? No. And I mean, like, for fuck's sake, the question is also like, where would you long? There's no mention of risk management. There's no mention of risk tolerance. There's no mention of any of these sort of things. Like, Jesus Christ, man, you probably shouldn't do anything because you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And I don't even mean that in like a mean way. I mean that in like a very respectful way, because if you don't know what the hell you're doing, there's no way that I can know what the hell that you want to do. And if you don't know what the hell you're doing, then, I mean, you're probably just going to lose money to begin with because you don't even fucking know. It's hard enough to make money when you even do know what the hell you're doing. So it is what it is, man. Look, I don't mean to make an example of you, but at the same time I do, because this is a common question. It is of course reasonable to expect, because, you know, people just want an answer, but the real answer is there is not a singular one, man. There is not a singular one. Chris is asking, is Bitcoin printing monthly bearish divergence since 2013? Unlikely, because 2013 is so many months ago that the RSI points for 2013, which was, let's see, how far back, which was 142 bars back, is not going to be relevant to the RSI reads right now. So whoever the fuck you're getting that from is an absolute fucking redact. Look, if you're using an RSI period of 14, which is default, which is what 99.999% of people are likely using, you really don't want to go back more than even 32 bars, in my experience. And even and the further back that you go, the less and less reliable that it certainly is. So if you go back 140 fucking bars to 2013, do you think that it fucking mattered? Absolutely not. Absolutely fucking not. It's not related to the current ones. Realistically, you're looking for relations, like I said, within the past like 30-ish, give or take a little bit from that number. The lower end of that look back is going to have higher efficacy in the results. results of a divergence reading actually playing out. But, you know, the further back that you go, the more and more unrelated it becomes, to the point where it's just not even relevant, man. It's not even relevant. So I can show you right here for this cycle what has been relevant for the RSI. These ones going back to the peaks in 2024. This one created the divergence that essentially got the major correction that we saw in early 2025. And yes, at some point we will have another drive of bearish divergence over here. Could it be happening on this current high that we saw from July? Might we get one more spike up? Somewhere around there, but yeah, it is building up, but it's relevant to this over here. Is it relevant to this over here? Fuck no, man. Absolutely not. In no way, shape, or form is it relevant to that over there. The RSI reads from these calculations are so fucking far in the past that it does not compute for what's going on right here, man. So yeah, Nova Spark says market isn't even the same as it was in 2013. I can understand what you mean there for sure. Personally, I don't actually like looking at data that's pre-2017 just because that's more like the modern era for Bitcoin. And even now, I think that going on from 2023, it's going to change again because there's been a demonstrable change during this period where Bitcoin has quite literally been acting different. You know, we get these long form steps. We get these long form consolidations that have this lovely stair-stepping behavior for Bitcoin, which is really, really good and uncharacteristic of anything that we've seen before. It's all been just straight shots to the moon and then a massive parabolic dump. So, you know, I think going onwards from here, it's going to be difficult to even look at these points from history. Now, I'm still going to do it because Intel actually have definitive proof that, you know, that's not going to work. Of course, I'm going to continue to use that, but I would imagine theoretically it would make sense that over here, you know, things quite literally are changing. You know, it is quite literally changing. Anyways, I realize that I've not gone over any of the super chats as of right now, so let me just do that in the moment. Let's get over here. Too much ranting and raving, not good for YouTube, but fair enough. Lovely. Steven Schickman, as always, number one, doggy, please, daily, weekly. I got you, man. Let's see what doggy's doing over here. It did hit our 30-cent target from, I mean, I feel like we were talking about that for a month. Now coming down off of that, Okay. So what I do think that most of the analysis that we're going to be looking at today is going to take a major backseat to the event later today with the FOMC. I just want to be really, 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 really clear in stating that. So I don't trust tentacles as much, especially in the short term, for a day like today. What I do find is rather useful on a day like today is to reference the higher term timeframes and mark off the areas of interest that actually could and would change the overall analysis, because these typically do have hold a lot of weight. So for Doggy Coin going forwards from here on the weekly time frame, 28, or basically your high from July, which was 28.5 cents or so. Yeah, about a little over 28.5 cents is a major pivot. If you can start to close above there, I do think that Doggy Coin is going to have a real breakout and live for a while above 30 cents, likely get into the mid 30s, let's say somewhere around 35-ish, you know, give or take a cent from that number. By the same token, I would be very happy to get very, very bearish on Doggy Coin if you see the weekly really come back down below a quarter and stay below there on a closing base. If you see that, yes, I think that that's a really good early indication that this thing will fall apart and will fail this reversal attempt that it's been in since basically 2025. So, you know, on a day like today, like I said, I just don't trust the short term that much. So many different things can happen. If I was just looking at the short term right here, I would say down. Honestly. I would say this thing is very likely to come back down to a quarter, or maybe even a little bit below a quarter. But hey, on a day like today, I think that all short-term time frame analysis goes out the window. I think that it is a silly experiment to do and a fool's errand, because those are just are going to get fucking run over on a day like today if we really do see some sort of a rate change happen, or even if rates do not get changed, because the expectation is so high that the rates will be changed, there would be a very strong response. And of course, I mean, it's probably extremely low probability, probably not even worth talking about, but you know, what if they were to raise rates? I mean, you know, obviously that's going to have that would have a killer impact on the markets as of right now, just because the market is not even anticipating that as even a possibility right now, which realistically probably is less than 0.01%. All right, we got KB. He's asking about Plume, Grass, and Egan for the 10th time. We do one at a time, my man. But that's all good. We'll choose maybe the least offensive of these, which is Plume. I honestly don't even know if this one's going to be good or not. But I assume this one's probably going to be among the better ones of the three that you suggested there. Overall, again, I'm just not going to be a fan of these charts, man. If I'm looking at this chart, I see a rejection right around the 200 simple. 1, 2, 3, 4 tries above, all rejected on extreme volatility on the daily time frame, on very minimal, but yes, it is present bearish divergence right here. I would be saying down, but I have to say the exact same thing that I just said about Dogecoin. I do not trust these sort of indications on a day like today. If I had to call it though, it would be down from here. It would be basically, this thing is very likely topping right around 13.5 cents. You've had too many rejections, very likely coming back down. But very difficult to say. What I could say is that if on today's event, KB, you see this thing pop back up and close above 14 cents, that to me would be objectively a major, massive macro reversal for this thing, and you're very likely looking at 18 to 20 cents, I would imagine. I mean, maybe just continues to the moon from there, something like that. But if I am applying TA to the lower term time frames, again, there's issues with that on a day like today for sure, then I would be saying down, and very likely back down to 10 cents or so, or just generally failing at, the rally right here to begin with. So yeah, anyways, yeah, not much of a weekly chart on an asset like this, which has been around since January, so not even a year. Thinking about the name, says SUI, short and long term. Gotcha, man. All right, let's check this one out. This one was among the best one earlier this cycle. Recently, it has not been. It's been certainly losing its luster, but even then, it still does have these weekly higher lows. I do respect that. That does imply that as long as you remain above the September 1st low of $3 and about 10 cents, or sorry, $3.11, $3.11, then, it still holds the uptrend, still okay, right? But the second that you come back down below there, especially close the weekly below there, this thing falls apart, and at that point you're looking well below $3. I would imagine $2.50 and probably just down only for a long time. As far as the monthly goes, look, you're still above the red 5 EMA at 335. Again, I have a big rule for myself that I do not get bearish on assets prematurely until you actually fail that on a closing basis. And if that were to happen, yeah, I'd be happy to say I feel very confident in saying that this thing's going to come down to like 240 or 250 at least. But as long as you're below, above there, it's hard to be looking for a move like that. If I do go down to the shorter term time frames, yeah, you had some hidden bearish divergence right here. You could argue that that's already played out. Certainly the easy portion of that move is already played out. If you want to pivot for the short term, it would be Sunday's low. Or it should really be Monday's low. What is my time? Okay, yeah, the time zone is correct. Anyways, basically this week's low of 346. Closing below there should be get another move back down to the low end of the range if that were to happen. But like I said, it's very difficult to trust low-term time frame or relatively low-term time frame analysis on a day like today. And of course, you probably already know this because you've been around here for a while. But if this thing can even trade above last week's high of 388. I think that you're getting another run towards the highs here at 440. I mean, that would be a big move. That would be a big fucking move. And to be fair, you do have these higher lows. So it is, for right now, still an uptrend on the weekly. So I'd be respectful of that. But yeah, again, today's event does really have the power to change everything. So I'd really be aware of that, man. If you just want short-term pivots, basically Monday's low would be the bearish pivot. If you can close below there, expect decent downside back down to these range lows and probably break down from there, to be honest, as well. If it comes back down around there, I'd imagine I kind of have a hard time not seeing it break down, but yeah. And then you're also looking at SOMI. S-O-M-I. Oh, okay. This is a new one. I have never seen this before. Somalia looks actually eerily similar to the SUI chart, but much less information. Look, this thing's been around for just a couple weeks since the 2nd of September. So I don't look, man. Technical analysis is very much imperfect on its own. To look at an asset that has this much of a lack of history is going to be infinitely less trustworthy. Again, just want to shoot you straight, man, because there's not even a daily chart here to analyze. To be honest, if you go down to a 4-hour time frame, short term, do I think it comes back down to like 114? Probably yes, but these are not real analyses. Yeah, I really don't have any real analysis on something that's this new. If it could take out, you know, Monday's low and trade below there and close below 110 on even a 4-hour, maybe you got to move back down to 80 or 90 cents, whatever. But I'm going off of such little, you know, such little information here. It just is not helpful, man. A day like today, we really need to be looking at weeklies and above. And this thing has been around for, like I said, 2 weeks. So, not much to make out of a chart that looks like this, to be honest, man. Sorry. Get What the Hype says GM, MU, Micron, AI Stonk on the daily and weekly. Is it an AI Stonk? Well, I guess it's like a chip manufacturer or something like this. Really good. Really, really good. Wow. Really, really good and constructive for a long time. Love it. Fucking love charts like this, man. Absolutely fucking love it. It's already making new all-time highs. Monthly RSI. Yes, at some point you will have divergence, but for now, this thing will very likely continue to make new all-time highs. I don't think that it's going to top here. I think that you're making new all-time highs into the end of this year at least. We do have hidden bullish divergence on the quarterly time frame. So again, today will ebb and flow as it naturally does. You know, maybe if you saw a pullback, it comes back down to like 140 again, but ultimately this thing is bullish AF, and I'd be looking for new all-time highs into the end of this year. Don't think that this one's topped. So yeah, if it does have a pullback in the short term, like 144 would make a lot of sense. But that would also be a great place for you, another higher low. Ultimately, this thing has been really, really good for a long time, really, really constructive basically since 03. So I think that that's a great, 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 amazing, powerful, girthy long-term chart, man. Probably the best chart that we've seen today. Anyways, and then you're also looking at ASML. One moment. Oh, some good old water. Okay, ASML. This one sounds familiar, but I don't think I'm familiar with it. Again, overall, long-term, very fucking good. Very fucking good long-term. So always want to give things the benefit of the doubt when they look at that long term, and even in the short term, it's actually still good as well. Monthly time frame has hidden bullish divergence populating for September, and I think that this is more or less a formality because you've already traded above June's high. Ultimately, whether it happens, you know, this month or October or November or whenever, you know, probably between now and the end of this year, I do think that this one continues up 950, maybe $1,000. Ultimately, this thing's just one massive macro uptrend. So, you know, just get out of the way of this thing and let it do its thing. Even the quarterly time frame has hidden bullish divergence populating here, which will be confirmed in less than 2 weeks. Just needs to close basically here or higher. So really fucking good, man. Really fucking good. You know, if we do go down to the daily, again, I don't trust it that much on a day like today. I'd generally be bullish as long as you're above 790. Below 790, that would be kind of the invalidation in my opinion. Below there, you know, you got something else going on. Just expect a more prolonged consolidation. I guess some more downside within there as well. But ultimately, I think that that's honestly less likely to happen for one. But if it did, yeah, that would change my opinion on it. Until then, you know, just let it do what it's been doing, man, which is being strong and powerful, and it's winning, man. It's winning. It's a winner. It's a winner. We like winners. We like winning stonks. We like winning assets. We like the winners. We love the winners. The winners are the best. The winners are the best. The losers are the worst. Fuck all the losers. Sell all your losers. Buy all of your winners. I'm telling you, long term, if you're a long-term investor, that is the biggest single piece of information I could possibly ever disseminate towards you, besides this video that I'm going to release this weekend regarding tax laws. And then you're also looking at LINKUSD, short and long term. Sure, mom. LINKUSD. Chainlink. You know, again, I just don't trust short-term analysis on these things right now. If I had to call it, I would actually say short-term down to $22. That doesn't change anything here as far as the general trend goes. This one I still only look at as having issues if it comes back down below about $20.50 and closes there. If you see that, then I think that this rally is ultimately failing. You're going to see this whole thing collapse back down, and the reversal attempt is going to be just that, an attempt. But until then, man, you know, give it a chance, I think. But that would be my major line in the sand, like major line in the sand. Cannot come down and close below about, let's just call it $20, just easier to say, even though technically it's a little bit above that number. But for right now in the short term, yeah, I actually do think that this one will come down a little bit more. But, you know, even if it came down to the 55 here at $22, still more or less a higher low, or at least same lows, indicating that this thing's consolidating. So, yeah, if I'm going off of the 5-day, yeah, I would have to say I would be biased to the downside on something like this. I actually would. So fair enough. Pricey is looking at Tesla. You know, I was feeling pretty bullish today until we started looking at some of these shitcoins, man. Then again, like I said, today's event will supersede everything else. To be fair, Tesla, weekly and monthly. Tesla, really fucking good, man. Really fucking good. We've been bullish on this one for a while now. I continue to be bullish on it. If it does get a pullback, anywhere around 370 is fair game. On a crazy day like today, anything can happen. But ultimately, like one of the charts that we saw before in traditional markets, I don't think that this thing's topped for this year. I think that this thing will continue back up. Probably around prior highs, probably even making new highs, you know, before end of year, or I don't know, sometime between now and December 31st. Overall, this is really fucking good here, man. The reversal is real. You even got a reverse, or it's not even a reversal on the quarterly. It's just continuation. You got higher lows continuing here, same highs over here. Well, the probabilities would certainly massively favor a new high in that case. So yeah, fair enough. Also, what are you laughing at? There's no laughing here. There's no laughing. There's no laughing in analysis. Drew says, hey, Crown, do you still think Solana won't make a higher high? Solana, or you want to look at Solana versus Ethereum? Okay, those are two very different things, but we can look at this over here. This chart actually probably a little bit more interesting, to be honest. Okay, do I think that Solana will not make higher highs versus Ethereum? No, I actually do not. I do think that it will rally here, probably more. I do think that it might rally up like a good amount more as well. You know, we're talking like 30 to 50%. Let me just kind of measure out. Yeah, okay. You know, I think that it could rally about 30% from here. I'm not super married to that belief, to be honest, but you know, do we have a nice swing low here? Yes. Is it very likely a major reversal? Also yes. But even if it is a swing low, you know, you should rally up a decent bit more to put in that next swing high, which, you know, most likely will be a lower high. So do I think that do I think that Solana will continue to gain versus Ethereum? Probably a little bit more over the next couple months. Maybe even it gets all the way back up to like spot 6 or 6.5. That would be pretty fucking good, but still that to me would be a great place for the next lower high, to be honest. Quarterly, it'd be very hard to argue against this being a major swing high right here. And I mean, it's going to take time. Naturally, this is, you know, all of these are 3 months worth of data, but more downside after that side, I think it's extremely likely. So Ethereum should be crushing Solana. If we fast forward like a year out from now, Ethereum should be pretty much fucking sticking its red dildo up Solana's bunghole, man. And this should be coming down significantly, I'd imagine. But fair enough. We shall see. We shall see. Anyways, Philip Newman says Chinese yuan versus the euro, CNY. Oh, nice. We got some forex here. My question to you would be, okay, you actually can trade this pair. So surprising. I would think that it probably wouldn't exist, just granted kind of like the world scenario. But yeah, overall, do I think that this is a bearish chart right here? Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But is it going to break down from exactly right here? Actually, I mean, it probably is quite close to it. We got very low volatility here on the weekly time frame. We do have hidden bearish divergence between the highs of mid-July and the highs going on right here, and it is in just more or less an overall downtrend on the weekly time frame, and it has been since 2022. So let me just think. Okay, so the euro actually should be, the euro should be gaining versus the yuan, but at some point you're going to get a really fucking big bounce on this thing, man. It's going to be a bearish bounce, but it's going to very likely come back up to like 12.5 cents ish, maybe even all the way up to 13 cents, but that would be another lower high. So it's kind of like prior chart. It's like, I do think you actually continue to new lows from here on this, on this dump off, but then there really should be like a big rally attempt. It will very likely be a lower high, but it can be a big rally, like I said, to 12.5 or 13 cents. But if I had to call it short term, I think that it does drop off more from here first. I mean, this is a distributive pattern on the lows. You know, with your RSI looking like this, yes, at some point it will have 3 drives of bullish divergence, but that, of course, would imply that this thing does make new lows first. So maybe it comes down just a slightly new low, might only be like 11.70 or 11.5 cents, and then it tries that rally. But ultimately, long term, I mean, this thing is just massively fucking bearish, at least in my opinion. Yeah, I'll kind of leave it at that. So yeah, Gallo says, how can you tell this rally is already okay? How can you tell that this? I need to I need to run this through interpretation. Gallo says, how can? By the way, good morning, Mr. Gallo. How can you tell this rally has already priced the cut? Okay, so. Let me reformulate the statement because I'm not sure that that makes a ton of sense. But I think what you're trying to say is, how can you tell that this rally has already priced in a likely rate cut? Honestly, with these sort of things, you never actually truly know. You don't know until after the event. And even then, there's always another interpretation. This is why using news, using these sort of events is inherently subjective. But they do matter. But they are subjective. What what do I do during these times? I pretty much do nothing, honestly. Or if my strategy's already been back tested, like during these during these events, maybe I'll just let it run, but perhaps reduce position size because you can get some really crazy things that happen on days like today. But anyways, the question is, how can you tell that this rally is already priced in the rate cut? You can't actually. You can't. You won't know until after the event. And even then, there will always be another explanation after that. But generally, what people will interpret this as is that if Bitcoin has been rallying here since September began, so the past, 2.5 weeks, more or less, straight up, and price were to, I guess, go sideways or down after this rate cut happens, then you'd say that it's already priced in, I suppose. But you can already see the issues with that. It's like, what happens from there? How far do you measure out? I mean, of course, like, you're not going to expect the result in just one day. Like, these things, as we went over earlier in this data right here, they take a lot of time to materialize. It's probably not even wise to even consider priced in or not priced in until you're about 30 days away. And at that point, it's just not even relevant anymore to begin with. So that's why I said that, playing this sort of a game is a loser's game, because you'll never fucking know. And there's no way even to know. So it's like you're being hidden from the results to begin with. So in my opinion, it's like, we can pontificate on whether it's priced in or not. I don't fucking know. No one fucking knows. And it actually doesn't even matter, because you don't need to know if it's priced in or not to make good trades. We can understand where the major pivots are on price for today. We have already gone over those. If Bitcoin hits one of those, I expect a response. I expect a reaction. But until we actually see something like that, who gives a fuck? Because there's no edge in that. There's no edge in that. The only edge in today, literally the only fucking edge in today is if you're an insider and actually know what the hell they're going to do. That's the only edge that you can have, on a day like today, in my opinion. And except for looking at very high term timeframes and kind of the pivot points there, because those typically do get played even on a day like today, but naturally they are very high term timeframes. So yeah, the lower term timeframe stuff just not going to matter, man. And like I said, it's going to take really 30 days from now to even assess, what the response was. And then of course from there, there's always the new thing, man. There's always the new thing. There's always the new thing. There's always the next thing, which changes the interpretation of the event before. It brings me back to that story. This is actually a really relevant story. And I'm sure you probably heard this story in one form or another, over your life. And it's like, it's supposed to kind of show, I guess, some sort of spirituality, where it's like, a farmer's son, falls off a horse and breaks his breaks his arm, and then everyone comes to him and says, "Oh my God, that's so terrible! I'm so sorry for you. He broke his arm." And then the next day, a war starts and everyone gets conscripted, but his son doesn't get conscripted because he has a broken arm, so he can't serve in the military. And then everyone comes back to the farmer and they're like, "Hey, oh my God, you're so lucky. He couldn't go and he doesn't have to, risk his life. You're so lucky." And then after that, I don't know, you can see how that goes onwards and forwards. There's always like the next thing that puts context on the prior event. And that's, again, my major issue with looking at these sort of news events and trying to get an edge from them. I think anyone trying to do that is just a fucking fool. And especially the ones who are making content about it on the internet, I understand that it intuitively makes sense. And I understand that it gets a lot of clicks and it gets a lot of views and it gets a lot of interest from a general community, but does it actually fucking work? I mean, obviously, you just have to look at the results. Anyways, Kim Kwan GN, or is it Kim Kwan Gen? I'm not sure. Or is it Qui-Gon Jinn? Is it Pump Please? Jesus Christ, man. This is Pump Fun AI. or pump fund or whatever the fuck it is. We actually looked at it before and actually was not bad, to be fair. I was expecting a pretty shitty chart based off of the name, but hey, you know, sometimes these things do have their rallies, and this one's certainly having its rally. It's very, very new, you know, about 2 months of history here. So again, I don't trust things that much. Again, ultimately on a day like today, I just like to mark off major areas of interest. If it does try upside, it's just new all-time high party, man. There's nothing really to be done here. I can pull a Fibonacci extension for you, but I would not even trust this, to be honest. You know, maybe upon continuation, if it were to take out Saturday's high, maybe see a move towards 1.1 cent or 1.2 cents, something like that. By the same token, if it does play at a downside move today, my major area of interest would be all the way down here at about 0.6 of a cent. You know, probably have a bounce on the first pass fit, you know, if it does something like that, man. But there's really no real announced due on something that's this new, unless if it's very low-term time frames. But of course, like we went over on a day like today, low-term time frame stuff is just going to get run the fuck over by today's event, most likely. But yeah, I mean, you don't even need to really trade above Saturday or Sunday's high. You need to just close above this spot 8 tenths of a cent high right here from Monday on a 4-hour time frame. And at that point, yeah, I think that you will see 1.1, 1.2 regions, something like this, man, which is a big move for something like this, to be fair. But yeah, I really just don't trust analysis on shit that's this new and also probably this, you know, highly esteemed as well. Anyways, Trickshot says silver new highs targets. We've been bullish on silver for a while. Let's see if it's still doing its thing, because I actually haven't checked in a while. Still really good. I mean, it's around all-time highs, yes, but this, it's getting towards a place. So do I think it'll make new highs? Yes. If we fast forward like 3 to 6 months from now, yeah, I do think so. But it is in a place right now where it is significantly more likely to experience a correction than real continuation. What I'm referencing here is the highs from the prior cycle nearly 15 years ago, where it made these highs in 2011. So all of this area right here is kind of fraught with peril and very likely to produce a pullback anywhere within this red circle right here. And you're kind of in the midst of that right now, or very, very close to it. You've already kind of wicked up into it and backed off from it already. Maybe there's another like small wick up into that region, but this area will very likely produce a nice sideways consolidation for, you know, a month or two maybe, and then it tries the real move to the upside. But yeah, I do think that'll make new highs. Just I need to put that in context, because I don't think it's going to be like, I don't think it's basically, I don't think it's going to be this. I don't think it's going to be a straight fucking, you know, moonshot, right? You know, it might be and then something like that, you know. That's, I think, a lot more likely. So fair enough, man. But yeah, overall, I'd still generally be bullish on it for the long term. All higher term timeframes here are more or less bullish. It's just, you know, I imagine it's going to take some time. Even on the quarterly, now that I recognize it, we go all the way back to 1980. So the past 55 years here, you know, kind of more or less one massive macro cup and handle, and a really powerful one at that. So yeah, similar to what gold did, but this one just hasn't caught up, which honestly is not the greatest sign. But nonetheless, I would still expect it to make new all-time highs as well. Again, if we fast forward, like, let's say 6 months out, I'd say that's very likely. ASCII's looking at NNE short-term stonk, long-term hold for this one. Nano nuclear energy. I like the name. I like the narrative. Yes, we literally just did it, Elsa. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. We need to turn Elsa into an investor herself. Anyways, looking at nano nuclear, overall good here. There's not a ton of history for a real stonk. You know, if this was a crypto, this would be, you know, okay, right? It's like, holy shit, we have more than 4 months. This is amazing. But this one, you know, kind of lackluster there. If we're going off the daily, yeah, I do think that this one will retest more or less the highs that you saw from July, somewhere around 42, 41, 42 region. It's a big percentage move from where it's at right now. Weekly has a higher low in place at $28. So I'd just generally be bullish as long as you're above that $28 number. That also means that if you come back down below $28, and especially close a weekly below there, I would be looking for this thing to fall apart and likely come back down. Doesn't sound like much on a stock, but it's $22. I mean, that's a double-digit move, so that would be a big deal. But yeah, overall, you know, I think it's in a decent position right now. I think that you're more likely to actually retest these highs over here, and then the real question is it close above them or not? I think it'd be more or less a formality. I mean, this is obviously higher lows the whole way through, so it does look like accumulation into a breakout, but, you know, it can take some time, obviously. I mean, this thing, again, has very much a lag of history, and I'm not going off a ton right here, unfortunately, but yeah, if I had to call it, I'd say short term, probably up to like 42.5-ish. Does it break out exactly from there? I don't know. It could spend some more time within the overall formation and then break out later. That I don't have a super strong opinion on about. But yeah, if you're just talking about entry, I mean, personally, I do not like to enter on things like this. You know, when it's like right in the middle of a range, I like to enter around where I'd kind of be on the precipice of, you know, of that formation failing, just because then I don't have to risk so much to figure out if this shit's going to work or not, you know, as like an investment. So personally, even though I don't think it's going to get back down here, I would actually wait for this thing to maybe get down between like $22 to $25. That's what I'd do personally. Just because, you know, then I'll have to wait until this thing, you know, drops another like 10% in order to figure out if this thing's, you know, fucked or not. From here, you got a lot of risk towards the next major area that kind of tells you if this thing's, you know, basically reversing or not. You know, like I said, I am biased towards it actually generally floating to the upside, but there is a lack of history here, and of course, you know, can always be wrong. So it's always about the risk management in those cases to make sure that these things don't fucking destroy you. That is the key. Do not get destroyed. Do not get destroyed. Gallo says, serious question on psychology of trading. Cool, man. Last month was great for me, but last week I picked every single failed meta signals setup plus my own TA and got stopped. Last few days, lost confidence on myself. Take a break. Okay. So last month was great for you. Last week was bad for you. What does this tell us? Or what can I deduce from this? So remember, whenever you're trading a back-tested strategy, so you could be using meta signals, you could be using your own secret sauce, you could be using something that you designed from the Quant Prime service, you could be using the quantum wave bands, you could be using whatever, as long as it's back-tested, as long as you have statistics for it, you have to understand that whatever statistics you have derived for that are based off of, hopefully, very long-term history. When I say very long-term history, I mean, you know, for cryptos, like 5 years would be, I guess, acceptable in those cases. For stocks, you know, a lot more. And you have to go into that history and look at your equity curve and see how it evolves over that time. I'll give you an example. Like, let me just pick up. Let me just actually, you know, I'll bring you to the quantum wave bands here, just because this one I think really illustrates this point so well. Especially for the people who have it right now, because you've seen some, you know, some nasty drawdowns in it, but ultimately it's all about the long-term results. So here's the thing, man. If I gave you a fucking quarter and I said, Gallo, if you flip heads, you should be, I don't know, you get something, and tails, you don't get something, or you lose something. And we flipped that 10 times. Would you be excited about it every fucking time? You shouldn't, because you know the probability is 50% that it lands heads or tails. So you getting emotional about it either which way, either positive or negative, is completely fucking illogical. I know it doesn't feel that way in the moment, by the way. I totally know it doesn't feel that way. This is what makes these sort of things hard. And this is the real skill in even doing algorithmic trading, is that you have to stick to those statistics over time. Like, look, you might have a period of drawdown here. I mean, in fact, the quantum wave bands did have a really nasty period of drawdown when Bitcoin put in the all-time high in August. It's, by the way, it's always going to do that on any major all-time high. But over the long period of time, it continually and consistently eats those back up. So the point that I'm trying to make is that your emotions are not relevant to the results. But if you get in your own way of not playing out these strategies in the way that you backtest them and being consistent with that, then you will fuck with all of the data over here, and it is no longer trustworthy, because now you are trying to pick and choose, and you're making decisions based off of your emotions. You're saying, oh shit, should I take a break because I'm emotional right now? No, I mean, maybe yes, just to like get your bearings under you, but at the same time, the real answer is actually no. The real answer is actually no, and the reason why it's no is because whenever you miss a setup from, you know, something like this, you can no longer trust the long-term statistics, because you're no longer playing the setup in the way that it was actually tested. So it's fucked. I mean, of course, maybe you can come up with your own sort of, rhyme or reason or secret sauce for something like that. But if you want to go specifically by the book, then that would be it. And your emotions are not needed to play out the setups in the way that they're supposed to be played out. I know, I understand it doesn't feel that way sometimes, but if you're going to be an active trader, you need to have mastered that. If you cannot master that, you cannot successfully trade, because you will not be consistent with what you actually need to do. And what you actually need to do is play out the strategy in exactly the way that you tested it, because if you don't play it out in exactly the way that you tested it, then you literally are not even playing the strategy to begin with, which is a big fucking problem, which means that you can no longer trust the long-term results. So it's like you might get into one of these periods right here where it's a major drawdown, and then, I don't know, you go ahead and take time off or whatever, and then you miss out on the gaining periods. At the same time, of course, if you're like really in a headspace, and I want to have a major caveat here before someone goes like, actually, because that just is so fucking annoying. But, major caveat here. Look, if you really cannot handle the emotions of it, should you take a step back? You shouldn't just take a step back. You should probably actually stop, like just straight up fucking stop for a long time until you can actually really master that. And how do you master it? You master it by reflecting upon it. You master it, in my experience, really by progressive desensitization, which means that you continue to do the action even though your emotions are kind of in a different way, but you focus on just the right action to take. Like it's like fucking brushing your teeth. I don't want to brush my teeth every night, but I just do it anyways. I just do it fucking anyways so I don't get cavities or whatever the hell it is. Else says what? I do not want to hear your opinion, woman. I'm kidding. Anyways, yeah. Yeah, you're having a drawdown, and that is, and not only is that okay, it's expected. Like, when you go over the back-tested results, this is actually kind of one of the bad things about meta signals, because you don't really see a long-term equity curve. You just see the stats on top of it, so it's kind of hard to visualize. But when when you look at this, you realize it really is just a long-term game. It's just a long-term game, man. In drawdowns, it's not just okay, it's expected. Any winning strategy that I'm aware of is going to have at least some period of drawdown. So if it's literally 100% expected to happen, logically, should we be emotionally stimulated by that? No. I understand that this is easier said than done, obviously. But the only way that you'll get to that place where it no longer, or at least the emotional stimulation becomes less and less and less, to the point where it's no longer super seductive in a way that you feel like you can't fight it, is to progressively desensitize yourself. And you progressively desensitize yourself by, exposing yourself to the same stimulus and not reacting in the wrong way. So you say, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to do this, because I know it's the right thing to do, and if it's a loss, it's a loss. That's okay, even though I feel like shit about it, because no one likes losing, obviously. Like, why would you like losing? But if you truly understand these things, you actually really should not be getting happy during your successes or sad during your losses, because you understand that long-term, those emotions don't influence things. It'd be the same thing as being emotionally stimulated by a fucking coin flip toss. It just doesn't make sense. All right, cool. Let's see. I feel like I probably missed a few other things, so my apologies on there. Let me just scroll back up really quick. Actually, no, I think I got all those, so nice. Let me take a sip of this water. Nice. We're gonna smash the we're gonna smash the patriarchy right now. That's good. Yeah, let's fucking kill all those people too. No kidding. Okay, it's a joke for anyone new here. It's a joke. All right. Don't shoot me for having a different opinion. All right, it's okay. It's okay. Peter Underwood says, if you're cherry picking signals, Gallo, then that's a problem. Lack of a trading plan. Yeah. When you start to cherry pick them, it can be massive fool's gold, because you will probably cherry pick some of them correctly. But at the end of the day, at least in my experience, I have found that even with strategies that I've had a really, really strong component of putting my hand in, I can't even cherry pick them to a reasonable degree. I can't even cherry pick them. So if I'm playing an algorithmic strategy, I just let it run. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie. The best way that I figured out how to do this is I put it on an algo that does it for me, and then I make sure that I don't have easy access to the account. Maybe I hide the password somewhere or put it like in one of those password managers, so like I can't just get in there, or maybe I just have it on like one of my phones that is not like my main phone. I never really have it on me, so I never really check it. Something like that, man, because even I know as well, like it's really fucking difficult to deal with. So, any way that you can work around that is the right way. And of course, over time, after you've done that for a while, whether it be 3 weeks, whether it be 3 months, whether it be 3 years, at some point, you really do start to change your emotional, your emotional resilience to these sort of things. It really does actually change. And honestly, it's like going to the gym in the way that you have to exercise that emotion of resilience. Or sorry, it's not the emotion of resilience, but you have to exercise doing the right thing, because that's what improves your resilience. And you can continue to, progressively desensitize your resilience by, loading up a little bit more. These sort of things. Yeah, just take all the signals, let it do its thing, if that's what you're going to play. If you're going to play meta signals, I would say meta signals has been fucking great. Don't get me wrong. But I would highly suggest, especially you, Mr. Gallo, don't fucking play the altcoin signals. For the love of God, please don't do it. Please don't do it. Please don't do it. I really dislike them. I really dislike them. Not because I hate the shitcoins. Yes, they're terrible. Yes, they're bad. But the real reason is because they have a lack of history. And when you have a lack of history, you have a lack of backtesting data. Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin really does look like it wants to put in a high here. I'm not going to lie. Like, if I was just, look, if today was not today, if today was not the FOMC, I would look at Bitcoin, I would say, this is very clearly a high being put in right here, and it's going to come back down. Today is a different day, though, so I would not, like I said, trust analysis on any time frame below, really even like a weekly. Quad says, if you have good risk management, it shouldn't matter. Or sorry, I read that out of context. He says, at best, you make a small improvement. At worst, you can miss out on really big trades, especially on higher time frame trading. Then you might decide to enter in later, and you just get yeah, exactly. Like, again, it all comes back down to, like, if you don't trade it in the exact way that it's been tested, you're actually quite literally doing something completely different. So yeah. Put it in your Angus on a thumb drive. Yes, that's also good as well. We should definitely do that too. We used to get half-price drinks at a bar for guessing the coin flip correctly. That is actually pretty cool. In that case, kidding, man, kidding. Alex Bolek says, I remember when you were in the cave answering every chat question and your sips of water were drinking the whole water bottle. Yeah, man, I've decided to reduce my sips because I realize it's really impacting my digestive system. I'm not even joking, man. It really does. One day people will learn that every altcoin chart is trash. I mean, look, like, you could definitely assume that almost any random altcoin chart that you bring up is going to be, yeah, it's going to be trash if you fast forward in the next 3 to 5 years. Yeah, for sure. But of course, there is a very small percentage of them that actually do end up doing something respectable to the upside, but almost none of them, except for I think 2 or 3, have ever even beaten Bitcoin from one cycle to the next cycle. So it's just very, very difficult to do, man. I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess I understand that people are generally seduced by the potential of insane returns for shitcoins, just because, well, you're not going to get those with Bitcoins. And yeah, every once in a while, someone does probably strike it rich with, some random shitcoin, but you also don't know the full story on that. And I mean, for, a lot of these things are are a lot more diabolical than that a lot of the time. From what I've seen, okay, I'm not gonna name names here. I'm not gonna name exchanges. I'm not gonna name anything like that. But I will say, in general, I would be very fucking careful of believing the P&L shots that I would see from people posting on social media venues, because a lot of the time, not every time, but I can assure you, and I've been proposed this in the past as well, so that's how I know that this stuff does go on. There is a backdoor agreement between these two parties, and the purpose is for promotion. The purpose is for promotion. So just be aware of that. Just be aware of that. I personally have not met anyone who's really made a shit ton of money trading altcoins, or more or less just gambling on altcoins, honestly. Remember when people complained about the sound when you drank? Yeah, man. Hey, stop drinking the water. It's bad. Crouching bear, hidden bull. Are you saying that we have hidden bullish divergence? I don't know if I see that, man. Well, it's not going to be on this chart. Hold on. Be on this chart if anything, but no, I don't see that. No, I don't see that. Like I said, if this were any other day, not an event-driven day, I'd say this is very likely a local high being put in here, especially with momentum about to turn down as well. If today finishes below about 117, but today's a special day. We can never truly know on a day like today. Have to humble yourself a little bit. Crypto Ninja says Helios Medical Technologies on the daily. How about a ticker, man? That would be infinitely more helpful, man. Helium Med. Okay, well, luckily it pops up first thing. Wow. It's as if I'm looking at some random shitcoin chart. Absolutely fucking god awful. Like, look, unless you have insider information on something like this, man, I just do not fucking understand it. Like, you might as well just go to Vegas. This is absolute fucking garbage, man. Absolutely. It's been around since 2014. It's seen all kinds of bull markets here and there where everything in their mother has gone fucking 100 million X above their all-time highs. And this thing, this is the real chart, by the way. This is the real chart. This thing just goes down and down and down. It's fucking garbage, man. Look, you might get one of those nice pumps where it trades up a big percentage-wise from where it's at right now. Maybe it's even doing that in this exact moment. Maybe it goes a little bit higher. I don't fucking know. But what I know is that long-term, just like most shitcoins, this thing will fail all of its rallies and continue down and to the right. This is absolute garbage. The only reason to ever get into something like this, in my opinion, is because you have insider information or you truly love the fundamentals and you've done your research in that way. That's a different game. That's not what I'm talking about here. If I'm talking about just general charts, I think that this is absolutely fucking despicable. I despise charts like this. It is absolutely terrible. And yeah. Have a nice day. Anyways, let's see. John Dude says Adobe stock on quarterly, dead or an opportunity. What does Adobe sell? Well, I guess they sell their. They have like a subscription or some shit. Do you even need to? Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. Because Elsa used to have their subscription. Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But is it a dead stock? I mean, look, man. When you have a stock that has not really done anything of significance, especially when most things in their mother have been rounded to new all-time highs over the past few years, it's not a good sign. And this thing is not. Do I think it's going to rally from here? Yeah, I do think it's going to rally from here. Do I think that, you might get back up to like 450, 480, maybe even 500? Yeah, I think it's actually possible. And that's a big fucking percentage move. But is it a good stock? In my opinion, absolutely fucking not. But I do think that it will rally from here. It's just, I think that there's better horses to be on, personally. But do I think that it's putting in a low here? Yeah, I actually do. I actually do. Even worse than the shitter, says Mike's Mind and Matter. Yeah, man. Well, just give it another 10 to 20 years, and they'll also be very much competing for worst chart of the fucking Galaxy Award. Gala says, do you turn off your bots on event days? I used to, and then I realized, okay, well, if I backtested during prior times of these, and that's included in the backtesting results, then I should probably just keep these going. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But honestly, the ideal situation would be to backtest on specific days, so like an FOMC day, and see what the results were for that day for that bond, and see, okay, is this going to be a net positive or a net negative, and then decide from there to turn it off or not. But right now, because I actually have not gone ahead and done that for a couple of my strategies, I just let it run, because these are very, well, I wouldn't say very high term time frame strategies, but they are generally higher term time frame strategies. If I'm trading like a very low term time frame, especially, let's say below like a 4 hour, then you're probably going to be better. I would really assume that it's actually going to be better to turn it off, but I actually do not have data to support that, so I won't say 100% for sure. But I would imagine that very likely would. But hey, like I said, I don't have proof of that right now. Anyways, all right. Matthew Smead wants to look at Pulse Chain. Yes, the Pulse Chain. WPLS. All right, Pulse people. You got to promise me, though, if I look at your shit, then do not fucking come after me, you crazy motherfuckers. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. I was told I would be paying the grand price for not, for talking any sort of nonsense about this project. And surely that will be true. Look, man. For the lulz, I think that this is your next major high right here. Will you maybe retest this high before going lower? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. But ultimately, I think this is very likely to be your next major high, and a series of lower highs going the whole way through this thing. Just god awful, man. Absolutely god awful. The only chart that's worse than this is the fucking hex chart, to be honest. Terrible. Just terrible. Just terrible. Just terrible. Yeah, here's your hex chart as well, man. I mean, this one's worse because obviously it has more history, but yeah. See, the thing is, like, people will look at this rally right here and they just think that this becomes normal. Like, they just think that this happens out of nowhere. No, this happens once. This happens once, and then every other time after that, it's always a lower high. Every fucking time. It'll never go above this number ever again. It'll never. And it certainly won't ever go above this number, but for fuck's sake, man, even this one, which is, what, 13 cents, 12.5 cents? See where it's at right now. Oh, only a 3,440% move to get back to break even. Like, amazing. It's just not going to happen. Now, will you get these pumps that come out of nowhere? Yeah, of course. You just had one in November. Or, wait, what? This is not the right chart. Hold on. Sorry, I apologize. This is actually not the right chart. This is, oh, this is a discontinued. Yeah, it's delisted. Oh, that's a great sign. That's a really good sign. It's delisted. Guys, okay, I can explain why it's delisted. It's because the Lizard Overlord Shadow Council decided that the hex coin was too powerful, it was too strong, so they had to delist it so that the stupid people couldn't get into that anymore, because that's going to help them get ahead in society. Wait a second. Is this one also delisted? Yeah, even worse. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Hate and bile from Queensland, Australia. Hell yeah, man. Good morning, Mr. Dale. They can't, yeah, that's right, guys. They came out, guys, they knew that Hex was going to make all these people so rich, and they didn't want that to happen. Who are they? Doesn't matter. No one knows, but that's not important. But they wanted to stop him, so they made up some charges, and they came after him. Elsa asks, who's they? They is they, them, actually. Nobody knows who they is. That's the beautiful thing about they, is that you can just blame everything on they. You can blame everything on they and the Jews, and you don't need proof. And you can just say that, and there's actually about 15% of the population that is actually retarded enough to believe you. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. They. Sol for Nigel. Yeah, let's check out Sol. We haven't looked at this one since Monday. And where is she? Where is she? 234. Honestly, among the better charts in cryptocurrency land, for sure. If this thing is going to fail, it would make a lot of sense for it to happen from exactly right here. That's what kind of concerns me on this. And again, I just don't trust lower term time frame analysis on a day like today. But if I was looking at the lower term time frames for today, I would say these things, most of these things do look like they want to come to the downside. But of course, today is a different day where I don't think that matters that much. In the short term, do I think it could maybe reconnect with like 225, 222, 220-ish region? Yeah, but I would be expecting a bounce there. So I'd want to see that happen first. You know, if it did come to the downside, obviously to the upside, if this thing comes above like 260, it's going to destroy, it's going to destroy its prior all-time high if that happens. But I don't know, man. I want to see how this one finishes off first. Because like I said, if it is going to fail, this would be the perfect place for something like that to happen. If it isn't going to fail, you'll basically see it back above, what was it, 242? Sorry, holy shit, way off. About 260. Let's just call it 260. It's not very helpful, to be honest. But like I said, I really want to avoid looking at the lower term timeframes for today, because I just don't trust them that much, man. They can get run over very, very quickly. So that's why I'm kind of not leading on that. I'm leaning on the higher term timeframes here. So if it does come to the downside, I'd be expecting to bounce around like 220-ish region. Really don't want to see below 220. I would confirm this as a major reversal and rejection and failure if it did come back down, not just below 220. You'd have to come back down below last week's low. If you see something like that, that would be a major fucking signal to me that this thing's going to just absolutely fucking collapse well below $200, like 150 ish, at least, something like that. Yes, you can also blame it on you can blame things on 3 different things: the Jews, and the market makers, and women. That's also right. The women's are wrong as well. I don't think you can blame it on women though. That's not very popular nowadays, Fawaz Koya says, "Hey Crown, what's up, man? Can you please analysize Uniswap?" Oh, Uniswap. Well, actually, I don't know. Is this one good now? So this is a 2020, 2021 shitcoin. It looks like 90% of 2021 shitcoins goes down only. It's had a couple of failed rallies in between. It's had yet another rejection right around the green 55 on the monthly. Again, minimal history here to populate something like this, but that does not look fucking good to me, man. Yeah. Honestly, man. Like I said, a day like today, weird shit's gonna happen. The key levels that I'd point out is about 865 to the downside. If you do start to come below 865 to the downside and close a weekly below there, I'd feel very confident in saying that this rally's over. This rally's over in my Mace Windu voice, and this thing's going to come back down to like $5 and make new lows. Maybe it takes a few months from there, but something like that. If I was just looking at this chart in its current format today, I would say, yeah, this is going to be the next lower high. But like I said, today we have a very special event. And if something crazy does happen and you actually do see it pop back above 1165, I'd say, no, this thing actually is about to put in a pretty major rally to 17, 18, maybe even $20. But I do think personally that is a lot less likely. Most things on the higher term time frame say to be bearish overall. And, the general rule is if it's a prior cycle shitcoin, don't be fucking bullish. Yes, you do get your pops every once in a while. Yes, they can be big percentage moves, but they all fail inevitably. That's the thing. RevView says, Elsa had me at the woman. Yeah, Elsa's pretty funny. Pizza says, hey, Crown, can you look at XRP 3-day and weekly? Yeah. Some good higher term time frames for this one. Let's see. I have it right here. Weekly, big pivot to the downside is 270. As long as you're above there, I think Hopium is still alive and well. Hopium generally should be to the upside. 3-day time frame, the last 3-day high is a good pivot to the upside, which was 319. If you can trade above there, I do think you're going to put in a nice shot towards 345, 350-ish region. Probably just makes new highs from there, to be honest. But be very strongly aware of that 270 low. Be very strongly aware of that 270 low, because if you do come back down below there and close below there, this thing will fall apart. But until then, I'm actually kind of biased towards something like this happening. It might even come back down there and retest there. I think that that's actually okay, or around there, and then try some upside. I think that that's actually very, very possible for something like this to happen. But like I said, it's very difficult to trust price action today until today's event. So. Yeah, if I had to call it, it would be down from here first, then higher low, then up. But those would be the major areas. Weekly time frame, is basically fine as long as you're above 270 for the long term. Just consolidating after a nice, step up to the upside. So not bad there. Good old DeFi summary, yeah. Nikki Page, what's up, Nikki Page? Can you please do CLOV? CLOV, CLOV. Is this a crypto or a stonk? Let's see. Okay, nothing's popping up for cryptos, so it is a stonks. Clover Health. Let's see. Oh, amazing. Amazing, Nikki. Amazing. Yeah, really not good. I mean, if it does get another rally, it probably rallies to like $4, but all of this is just another local and lower high right here. Again, these sort of things in traditional markets, like if you really like the stock and you like the fundamentals or whatever the fuck, or you have some inside information, maybe that could make sense for you for the long term. I don't know. But if we're just talking about straight up technicals, if we're talking about straight up trend, if we're talking about straight up charts, this is god awful, absolutely god awful. And, long term, this thing's very likely to come back down to $1. rather than ever return back up to like, you know, $7 or anything like that. I think best case scenario, this thing might pop up to like $4, you know, especially if today's event is considered very bullish, something like that. You know, it's possible, I suppose, but I wouldn't be counting on it. Overall, you know, these things generally go down and to the right. If I go down to a weekly, maybe there's a little bit of hopium for a short-term move to the upside of like 340. But like I said, unless if it's really like a fundamental or like an insider play, I don't think that this really deserves anyone's attention. Yeah. Mr. Hirstov, hey from Bulgaria, JD.L. Okay, I'm guessing this is a stock or something. New to me. JD.com. All right. Wait, no, that's not it. Sir, I'm actually watching the bottom of the chats right now, so could you clarify exactly which one you want to look at? Because I'm not seeing anything that is exactly your ticker that you are proposing here, sir. Maybe you're talking about this. Maybe you're talking about this. I don't know. I don't know. Let me take a sip of this water in the meantime, though. Moon Raccoon says, XRP Army will win. What are you guys going to win? We did look at SUI actually a lot earlier. Look at JLP versus Solana. Wait, what the fuck is going on here? Hold on. JDL. All right. I'm just waiting for Mr. Hirstov to clarify exactly which ticker he's looking at, because there ain't nothing popping up right here, or unless he means JD.com, but I'm guessing probably not. But I'll wait around. Anyone can buy anything anywhere. VPN or home network, says Dale Network. Says Dale Lane. Kind of, I guess. I mean, what if they block your credit card or something like that? Because that actually can happen. They can they can figure out where you are from, you know, from your credit card. Okay, JD is a ticker. Got it. All right, cool. Let's go right here. Not great, man. Just another one of these bullshit charts that gets a nice pump up from last cycle and then down only from there. Are we getting a pump up right here? Maybe gets a little bit more continuation. If I go to the daily time frame, you're already at the 200 simple. This would be a beautiful place for rejection. Makes a lot of sense. Confirmed on a rejection and down only if you come back down below Tuesday's low of 33 bucks and 15 cents. Overall very ugly, but I suppose if, again, because today is a crazy day, so who knows what the fuck happens today, but if this thing actually can close above about 36 bucks, I do think that you'd get one more rally decently higher before inevitably coming down, and that would be maybe somewhere around like 40 to 42 bucks. Something like that, man, if that were to happen. But that's a big fucking if right there. It's a big fucking if. TRWA. Okay, this is a new one for me as well. TRWA. Oh, this is a crypto. I thought it was a stock. Very bad, for at least for the history that we do have. Well, I shouldn't say very bad. It's just uneventful. But at least it doesn't go down only. Okay, at least there's that. It's kind of held its range lows. I don't have a whole hell of a lot of analysis to do on something like this, man. It's been around for like 2 months, a little bit over 2 months. If I did have to call it, it'd be down from here. But I'm not going off of much. Today's an event-driven day. I don't have any real edge on something like this, man. If I had to say, it'd be down to like 0.9 of a cent here. Maybe tries for a bounce, but I do not trust that. It's way too low time frame. Bruce Bailey says, do you trade within your personal account or do you trade within a business account to be more efficient with your account by offsetting profits with expenses? Yeah, it's a really good question, man. So I actually have been switching over to a business account, not necessarily for that reason, but actually for, okay, I'm going to explain a lot of this shit on this coming weekend's video about tax optimization, but it's actually to put into retirement accounts and whatnot through my business, which can award you significant tax benefits. So that's actually the reasoning why. So yeah. What else we have? Sounds like something related to aviation. Could be. we may never know. Can you look at Coinbase? Yeah, man. Actually, I love looking at Coinbase. Again, full disclosure, I do own this. I do still think it's probably top for a while, to be honest. I think that that's held true for a while now. Short term, I honestly think that this is another lower high. I think this thing's likely coming back down to the lows of 300 bucks, for the last month or so, month and a half now. Does it go lower overall? Probably at some point. I do think that this thing's topped out for a while. I'll put it that way. But am I bearish on it for forever? No. I actually think that this thing will be quite good over the long term, but I just don't think it's moving to new all-time highs anytime soon. So if I had to call it here, again, today's a crazy day, but you got momentum turning down, you got a lower high. I think they're coming back down to this base here, just below $300, something like that, man. Man, time always flies on these, on these streams. Like every time I get just lost in the sauce and then I look up and it's almost 2 hours later. I'm like, what the fuck? Stoned Crypto Carp says, don't forget me, Crown. Look at JLP token. All right, we'll look at JLP token. No, we're not looking at both those things, man. We already looked at Solana as well. Okay, pay attention. We'll look at your JLP, herpity derp. I'm sure it's great, man. Jupiter liquidity provider. Sounds great. Sounds amazing. Or is it Jupiter Launchpad? Down only. Amazing. Fucking amazing, man. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. That was great. We learned a lot on this chart. It's an amazing shitcoin that is doing really, really well. Maybe this chart's different. This chart is different. Hopefully this is the one that you're talking about, because the other one's fucking garbage. This one's really fucking good, actually, to be honest. But I don't know if this is actually what you were talking about, because this one, Jupiter Launchpad and Jupiter liquidity provider. Hopefully it's a liquidity provider you're talking about, because this one's actually pretty good. Even then, however, I still think that in the short term, this one probably does have a little bit of downside, maybe back down to like $5.60 or $5.50. Again, hard to trust tentacles on a day like today, but if I had to call it, I do think it does come down to like 560-ish region. Try for a bounce there, something like that, man. Mr. Heerstoff, dude, you can just type in the you don't need to send in a super chat, man. You can just type in the chats there, man. I'm happy to find which one that you're looking at. Oh, JD Sports. Okay, JD Sports. Gotcha. Okay, JD Sports. I see you now. JD Sports. Okay. So this is on London Stock Exchange. So that's why you're doing the .l is London. Okay. Next time, just say LSE. That will actually help a lot more. Not great in the short term, man. Yeah, overall, I don't like it. Do I think that you found a swing low here? Yeah, actually I do. And I do think at some point you'll rally back up to like 120 or so. I just think it's a losing stock compared to most things, man. Maybe it spent some time on these lows. It might even come back down to these lows and then have the big bounce. But at some point, you very likely will get this big bounce somewhere around here, like 110 to 130 area. Let's call it 120. Who knows what happens from there, but in the short term, does this thing come back down to the lows? I actually think that it's kind of likely to come back down to the lows first and then try the bounce, to be honest. And then maybe bounce like, let's just say 120. And then who knows what happens after that. It's still a very nasty downtrend. But yeah, something like that is kind of what I'd be looking for, ma'am. Willius says, VANI, NASDAQ, 4-hour and daily. Sure, ma'am. VANI. Okay, we got a lot of traditional market stuff recently, which I actually really like. Like I really want to encourage people to take a look at traditional markets, but this is no different than your regular shitcoin, to be honest. So again, man, with these medical stocks, with these biotech shit like this, especially tech stocks, I see a chart like this and I realize, yes, like these things can get fucking crazy. They get their one-off pumps and, sometimes they have an announcement of an announcement. It's the same game as like shitcoins, right? You already know my opinion on a chart like this, man. It's fucking garbage. Absolute fucking garbage. It's been around for 10 years, 11 years. It's literally down only the whole fucking time. It's absolute fucking garbage. If you have some sort of inside information, yeah, sometimes these things do work out, of course. But if I had to call it, man, it's down only. All rallies fail. This thing pretty much just had a rally right here. I don't know, is it failing already? That would be a good, generally speaking, that's a good bet given the history of this thing. If it does have another spike to the upside, I guess maybe $2 is where I'd be looking for, but goddamn, man. Like this is just such a terrible game to play, in my opinion, because you're really playing a game of luck here. Like there's no edge in a chart like this. There's edge in maybe, like I said, if you have like insider information or something like this, but that's also illegal in traditional markets. So you're kind of fucked there. Yeah. JD Sports is not as good as Foot Locker. Fair enough. I will trust your opinion, sir. What's up, Higher High? Where do you live now? I'm in the. We're currently in the States right now, but we're figuring things out. We haven't really decided on anything. What's up, Mr. Tom Crown? Good to see Mr. Tom Crown. Holy shit, man! I'm happy to see you here, man. Tom Crown, as always, good to see you, brother. And check out Tom Crown because he's almost always live during the Fed meetings and the Fed announcements and these sort of things. So he'll probably. I'm assuming you'll be live. You'll be live a little bit later. I think it's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that's in, what, 3 hours from now? About 3 hours from now. Yeah, so if you want to see it live, Tom Crown's your man. Also just generally good guy. And great last name. Great last name. Love it. Absolutely fucking love it. Gay love from Saturn. Fuck yeah, man. Let's all get gay right now. Let's all get naked, take down our pants, and get very gay with each other, okay? I'm the gayest one of them all. Master of Whispers says, Crown, can you give us your thoughts on Riot? Yeah, so this is a blockchain related stock. I forget if they're a miner, if they just slapped on blockchain to the end of their name or some shit like that, man. Long term, of course, again, I hate charts like this. Short term is this thing turning the corner and putting in a rally. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of these types of rallies, most likely. Ultimately they all fail, but they can get some pretty good airtime before they actually do fail. Next major area of interest for something like this is going to be like $21 to $24. It's trading at 17.5 right now. So it's a pretty big fucking move for something like this in traditional markets. Yeah, generally I think it's going to get a little bit above 20, whether it be 21, 22, 23. I don't fucking know, but somewhere around there at least. Long term, like I said, I just going to hate a chart like this, man. But yeah, fair enough. Hell yeah, man. Pamp it. CLSK, Clean Spark, Daily Weekly. Sure, man. It's been speculated that we are brothers from another mother, or that we are related in some way. Nobody knows the real answer. Nobody knows the truth. It may be true. It may be not. It's Schrodinger's relationship. Maybe we're even together. Maybe we are even in our own relationship together. Nobody knows. Nobody will ever know because it's our secret. Anyways, Clean Spark, not good. Okay, look, in the short term, is it going to try for a rally here? Probably yes. If we're on the weekly here, do I think that this thing rallies up to like 14-ish? Yeah, definitely possible. But that's where it's been getting arrested on all these rallies since 2024. And again, we just have another chart here where all rallies fail. If all rallies fail, you can't trust any of them to really have any real reversal. So my assumption is always going to be it's going to top out before the last major high. I'm always going to have that assumption here because typically that's exactly what happens. I mean, shit, how many fucking garbage shitcoin charts we need to look at before that one sinks in. But yeah, man, like I said, today is a weird day. And what happens later today will very likely be a major catalyst. So I don't like to choose directions on a day like today. I do like to choose major areas of interest. The upside, that would be somewhere around 14-ish. To the downside, if you even trade below like $8.50, this thing is going to be fucking absolutely cream pied. At that point, I think that this whole thing just falls apart and continues with the long-term downtrend, man. It's really bad. It is really bad. Let's see. Emergent Biosolutions. Ticker, my man. Ticker would be good. The meeting will surprise with Gina's comeback. Who's Gina? She sounds lovely and also like a lesbian. Jeff Belbin says, so which one changed the first letter in their last name? Mine would actually be that. Sending hate from the cryptoverse. Hell yeah, man. We got hate coming in from different universes now as well. This is beautiful, man. We got hate from all over Earth and then all in the intergalactic space. It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Master of Whispers is looking at Galaxy. Yeah, we can look at Galaxy, man. I think we might even end it on this one as well. GLXY. This is Mike Novogratz shitcoin. And actually not looking terrible right here. Nice constructive rally. Does it try a little bit higher, maybe all the way to $40 or so? I actually think that is possible. Not a humongous fan of it long term, but they actually legitimately have shifted what they do as a company. So does it extend the rally a little bit more? I would think so, honestly. Higher term time frames are just generally bullish here. Does this thing get up to like 40 or 50? Probably, yeah, man. My fucking man, 420. Here since day one. I know, sir. I even remember your real name too. I won't say it because I don't want to fucking dox you, man, but it's crazy, man. I really do remember everyone, especially who was here in like the first couple years, but goddamn, man, you were here in like the first day, like actually the first fucking day. All good, man. Appreciate it, Mr. Gallo. Good as always to see you. Hate from Bulgaria, hate from America, hate from South Africa. What was the last super chat? Better be good. Okay, there is one more. Crusty Bastard. He's been lurking since 2018. Fuck yeah, man. SEC on the TSX. Okay, so this is SEC on Canada's shitcoin exchange. Where? Yes, okay, there we go. Yes, okay, this one. I'm glad he specified, man, because there's a bunch of different ones here. Actually pretty good here. Pretty good. Consolidating at the highs. Got another higher low in right here. Overall pretty good. I'd generally be bullish on this thing, especially as long as you're above June's lows. So right now it's well above there. I mean, those are $300 and this thing's trading at 364 and a quarter. You know, in the relatively short term, maybe over the next couple months, you know, this thing probably retests around your February highs, 390 to $400. Does it make new all-time highs from there, or does it pull back first? I don't fucking know. But long term, I would be expecting something like this to be making new all-time highs. You know, if we fast forward like 6 months to 9 months from now. Overall, pretty good. Overall, very constructive. Overall, has a really beautiful history of just going up and to the right. So all of that is extremely fucking good to me. Doesn't really trade all that much. When we go to a weekly, you know, you can see there's weeks that go by where this thing doesn't trade. So it's maybe a little bit of a red mark against this thing, but it's Canadian shitcoin, so who the fuck knows what they're actually doing over there. But yeah, overall, just be bullish on this thing as long as you're above, again, those June lows. But yeah, man, it's been a nice, pleasurable, what? Oh, God damn it. It's getting really fucking annoying. All right, vibes are high for Apple. Apple short and long term. Yes, okay. Yes, that's the last one. All right, great. Okay, Apple. Again, another beautiful up and to the right chart. Okay, so like I said, today I'd really want to focus on higher term timeframes and just marking off areas of interest, because the lower term timeframes I just do not trust on a day like today. They can get run over in both directions. Just crazy volatility and crazy shit, crazy randomness can happen. In the short term, you know, to the upside, 245 to 250 is a big area of interest. If it does approach that region, I'd be looking for a pullback on the first pass. But overall, this is bullish. Just a pullback on the first pass is not a bad thing. It very likely will fall through to the upside given enough time. It's very clear, however, on the other side, you have a really big pivot, which is last week's low of 225, or more or less 226. If you do trade below last week's low, and especially close even a daily below last week's low, I'd be looking for this thing to actually fall apart and fail this current rally and likely come back down to the base at low 200s. Again, that's not necessarily bearish long-term or anything like this. It's just, you know, consolidating for a longer period of time. So, you know, I really wouldn't have an issue with that. But generally, over the long period of time, I would be having an upside bias. Quarterly, honestly, if it finishes anything like this, I'd generally be bullish. And be expecting new, or maybe not new all-time highs, but at least retesting all-time highs and possibly making all-time highs between now and the end of the year. Again, if it closes the month out, something like this or higher, especially. That's what I'd be saying about that. But yeah, man, it's been a nice, pleasurable stream on this Wednesday morning. We'll be back on Friday, same time, same place. Go check out Tom Crown a little bit later. He'll be live during the during the Fed ceremony, the shadow lizard ceremonies. Really good guy, really fun streams as well. And yeah, thanks for joining in as always. Really enjoyed the conversations today. Take care. Much love.